Hello and welcome back. I'm really not looking forward to this. Yes, it's time for that one mission that everyone always dreads. Probably the first the first of the annoying missions in this game. Fortunately, the Joan of Arc campaign only really has one such annoying mission. This is that one. Yes, this is the part where you get killed. A lot. And I'm not looking forward to it. Anyway, I'm going to give you a brief historical background on this before I actually launch into it, because by the time I'm actually in this scenario, chances are everything's going to be so hectic I am not going to be able to explain anything, because this is pretty much non-stop, insane, hectic action right from the beginning. And I'm going to be pretty much having to pay attention constantly. So, firstly, after the king was crowned, basically, their next stop was Paris, which has been under British and Burgundian rule for quite some time, and they have a very large garrison there. Unfortunately, there was basically a massive 3,000 English and Burgundian soldiers defending the city, and most of the people inside the city supported them, so that was going to be somewhat difficult. Unfortunately, there were a few complications going on at the court at this time, which you'll be seeing, and not only that, there were several very, very bad signs just before this attack began. Foremost of which was that, back when she fought at Orléans, basically, Joan deliberately avoided fighting on any kind of holy celebration. She wouldn't even fight on a Sunday, because, she wanted to keep those days sacred, and she was afraid that God would be angry with her if she did that. However, the Siege of Paris, Joan attacked the city on the 8th of September, which was actually a special holiday dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Despite the fact that she wouldn't even fight on a Sunday back at Orléans, she was now attacking Paris on one of the holiest days of the year. That clearly was not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. Not only that, but, may not have mentioned this before, but, most people will know that Joan did claim to hear the voices of angels. Her voices said nothing about attacking Paris. So, yeah. She was kind of going against them too, and she was going against a lot of things when she attacked. That wasn't a very good sign, and you're about to see why.
September 3rd, right. France has a king once more. However, as Jean gains influence with the people, jealousy grows within the court. The king's evil advisors now seek to destroy Jean. It's only a matter of time before they succeed in poisoning the king's mind. Joan must hurry to fulfill her mission. Paris, the jewel of France, has been under English tyranny for decades, and French patriots trapped within the city are eager to escape. We are now marching on Paris, hoping that the reinforcements we have been promised will arrive in time.
Okay, third time attempting this. Yeah. So, we have our objectives here. Firstly, Joan must survive, which is a given. We need to rendezvous with the refugee villages in Paris and locate at least 6 of them. We also need to rendezvous with the King's men, just south of the river bridge. Yeah. That sounds simple, but believe me, it's really not. So, yeah, don't try and defeat every British unit. That's probably telling you something. The second one here says, guard your siege weapons. Towers will be a big problem if you don't. Now, this is kind of weird because there actually aren't really much in the way of towers in this mission. So, that's kind of weird, but you do want to guard them because they are useful for quite a few things. And the third, that kind of sums up the general tone of this mission. As you can see
Paris
here...
is just ahead. Let us locate the refugees and escort them to the rendezvous point with the king's men.
You know, I never cease to be interrupted by that guy. But anyway, we begin this mission with suspicious video game generosity at its finest. We already have a massive army. Massive army full of crossbowmen, pikemen, Cavaliers, Paladins, Bombard Cannons, even Trebuchets, all Imperial Age units. So, yeah, they're giving us this enormous army for a reason. Oh boy, is there a reason. We also have Lord de Graville here, who actually was a historical person. He was a master of archers in the French army, and he fought with Joan at the Siege of Paris. We also have Jean de Lorient, who I'm not really sure if he does have a historical counterpart. I tried searching for him, and I couldn't find anything. But he is a bombard cannon hero with a massive attack stat and very good armor, so he'll be quite useful to us. Oh, I probably should put the paladins with the main army as well. So, yeah, now our main army is going to go forward while our siege weapons are going to stay in the back a bit. Because we're going to need them a little bit later. But for now, also putting the entire army on defensive, because this is a mission where you really don't want everyone running off on you. Trust me, you'll see why. Oh, and you go back with the artillery. See what I mean about everyone going Leroy Jenkins on you if you don't micromanage them properly? It's just, yeah, the unit AI can really screw you over in this mission when everyone starts derping like crazy and going, oh, let's go attack these houses that are no threat to us at all. Which these guys are probably going to do soon if I let them, so let's just hope that I find the gate soon. There's the gate, right. Now, you, shoot, gate, you, attack, gates, you, stop attacking, useless buildings. Stay here and wait for it. And you, I said shoot the gate, you big fool. Why aren't you shooting the gate? Why aren't you shooting the gate? Oh, now you are. Well, that's weird. I've never seen him do that before. Just, could you please stop doing that, guys? Yeah. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is, we are going to... I wonder if we can actually shoot there. Right there. Gate, first gate is down. You guys pack yourselves. The rest of you. Joan is fine attacking that mill because we don't want her in the thick of the action. Because there's a freaking mangonel here, and that thing will really, as you can see right there, completely and utterly devastate us if we don't take care of it quickly. Cannons? Oh wait, you're not just a... yeah. Yeah, you guys want to shoot that. You are going to shoot the gate. Trebuchets are going to attack the gate. And the rest of you are going to be extremely cautious. Is the mangonel dead? No, it's not. We mustn't stop until this mangonel is dead. Pikemen, we've got incoming... I said pikemen. We have incoming cavalry. Deal with them. Cavalry, guard the siege weapons. We're going to probably lose most of them, but really cares here. Is that gate taking damage? It's taking some... Okay, good, that's down. Right then. You go back. I don't want to expose my pikemen too much to enemy archer fire. Oh, that gate had better go down soon. And we have a bombard cannon here. What happened to there you go. Is the gate down? The gate is not down yet. Come on, someone please tell me that gate is going down soon. You guys retreat a bit because those archers are just downright incredibly menacing. After the gate goes down... Okay, gate should be down in a few seconds. That's not a few seconds. Come on, destroy the stupid gate. And gate down, right there. From this point on, our trebuchets are really only good as a distraction. It's sad, but it is true. See what I mean? If you group them with the rest of your army, they'll start unpacking themselves for no reason. Well, there is a reason, it's just that it's not a good one. Kill him. Kill them. Kill that. Good. Right, everyone, including you. I think this is the most surviving troops I've ever had at this point in the scenario. Right then. You light cavalry, go with the rest of them, and stop being Leroy Jenkins, you fools! Because that's what happens. The stupid longbowmen start attacking you. Okay, you guys shoot the champions before they get into melee range. Those champions can be kind of dangerous. And by kind of, I mean extremely dangerous. You guys just keep... I'm just going to send you guys up there in advance. You're probably never going to make it, but oh well. Is Joan? No, she is not hurt. Excellent. See what I mean about the AI? The longbowmen are clearly the bigger threat than the archers, but of course they just start attacking. Actually, I need to kill these champions because otherwise they're going to be a threat to my artillery and the like when they go this direction. You'll notice the sounds of people dying like flies. That is totally pretty much the... Okay, good, they're going that way, right. Okay then, keep moving. We must always keep moving. We'll be there soon, but first we'd better have our cavalry on hand. Because castle... Okay, yeah, you guys get out of range of the castle, and you guys kill that before we get into its range. It's probably best to go around this way rather than risk getting hit by the castle. And another longbowman. Okay, you. They have a cannon galleon? Are you serious? They have a cannon galleon. And sunk. Now run out of the way. And he still got here. Now what's going on here? Is Joan hurt? No, she is not. Kill him, please. Okay, very soon we will have reached the refugees. You guys head up here.
We have rescued
Okay,
the
refugees rescued.
Now
Run! Because there's a whole lot of I did not know they had that many
men.
galleons. I only knew there was one galleon. Apparently we're supposed to wait at the bridge for reinforcements, but standing still in this scenario is a recipe for sudden, instant, and even immediate death. So shoot that guy now before he really starts killing our refugees.
The king's
now,
reinforcement will be along
kill
any second.
galleon. Nice shot. Where are our refugees? Gotta make sure they don't do anything stupid now. Whoa, you're really lagging behind, aren't you?
Reinforcements.
So, here are the reinforcements.
We are all the king could afford to send.
Uh-oh, that's not
The
good.
king's wicked advisors won't put his own defend. Or worse, we're on our own. We must carry the Compiègne.
Okay, so our objectives have completely changed. The king has betrayed us and there's a mangonel up there. Make sure we take that out before we start moving any further all bunched up like this, otherwise we're all dead for sure. Please die. No, I said stop attacking the village. You're all idiots. Go on defensive stance. And I gotta make sure that I've got all the villagers with me. Head up here, and I am doing... Okay, I really don't want to jinx it, but I'm actually doing so much better than I ever have before in this scenario. Normally, almost my entire army is dead by this point, and there's kind of a very good reason for it. The Siege of Paris, as you can tell, was a horrible failure in real life. I am insanely lucky that this much of my army made it out alive. Believe me, insanely lucky. But because of that insane luck, I am going to save right now, not taking any chances. And we are back. Our objectives have... You are an idiot. Our objectives have changed now. Now our mission is to escort Joan and at least 6 of our villagers into this area here. Yep, escort mission. We also have no monks or any healers of any kind. Yeah, that's brilliant. And you just provoked a mangonel. Wonderful. Speaking of mangonel, take him out. Oh, wow, that must have been painful. Yeah, again, take that guy out. Keep our trebuchets here. You guys, I'm assigning you a group number, so I can find you whenever I want. Where's Joan? There you are. I'm assigning you a group number as well, so I can find you whenever I want. Okay. Now, generally, it is probably safest if your villagers travel with the rest of your army. As weird as that sounds, and it totally disrupts their formation, but it is the safest route. And that market's almost dead, you might as well finish it off. Just to spite them. Okay. Very soon, something bad is about to happen. Actually, let's see if what happens if I keep my villagers here with the trebuchet. Oh, okay, that's bad. There's a whole bunch of enemies there, and we really don't want to provoke them, especially since they consist of a large amount of halberdiers. Instead, let's just send most of what remains of our army. Seriously, I'm lucky this many of them actually survived this long. I want to send all of them up here. Making sure to keep my villagers and trebuchets out of the action. Those things really make me nervous. Right then. Once we head down here...
We are tired of licking kitty boots. We follow where you lead, Shonara.
So we get reinforcements. Unfortunately, said reinforcements are militia. Militia. Yeah. Militia. In the Imperial Age. So they're pretty much useless cannon fodder. Completely useless cannon fodder. But at least, there don't seem to be any more enemies. Let's just scout down to make sure, because I remember there being a couple of champions down here, sometimes. Oh, hey, interesting. Oh, there's a barrack, so that will be spawning champions. Oh, hey, you're still alive. That's nice. You go with the rest of the army. You know what, you guys? Everyone is on no attack. Yeah, that'll show you. Anyway. Right then. Oh, hey, you're one of the king's men, aren't you? So, our mission now is to head to the safety of that French village there. It's a whole bunch of trade workshops here. Trade workshops are an unused building, but now is not a very good time to discuss that concept. So, firstly, we're going to take our trebuchets and our one cannon, and we're going to break one of these walls. You want to make sure the wall you break is on this side. If you break a wall here, you won't be able to get through because the forest will be in your way. Trebuchets can actually cut through forests, but they kind of take a while at it, and they're really not that practical. See that farm there? That is going to mark our escape route. What we want to do is we want to break one wall segment there. We also want our refugees to come with us, but not so close as to be near our main army. You are on no attack. You are on no attack. Okay, wow, this wall's going to go down very quickly. Now, in most of my practice runs, the rest of my army was dead at this point, and I had no siege weapons. This is why you kind of want to protect your siege weapons for this one thing. The breaking of this one wall. Without that, you can get out of the city, but it requires you to break down this wall manually with infantry, which takes, like, forever. Seriously, it takes forever. I was worried that I'd have to do that, and I'd end up having to cut enormous amounts of footage just because of that, but, yeah. Anyway, before we leave, I might want to just get one brief historical detail out of the way before things get insanely hectic again. You're also on no attack. Yeah, the fact that these reinforcements didn't really come. Now, Now, yeah, the game tries to blame that on the king's quote-unquote wicked advisors, and while that may have kind of been true, the king himself wasn't exactly the most noble person. Well, in fact, probably the main reason why we really didn't get our promised reinforcements is because the king was pretty much flat broke, as weird as it sounds. He actually was really nervous about Joan rallying all the army together because he had no idea how he would even be able to pay them all. Not only that, okay, basically, the king was so poor that he had to pawn off the crown jewels. Yeah, he was that desperate. Also, he was so poor that a cobbler in the street once refused to make a pair of shoes for him because he knew he didn't have enough money to pay him back. When you're the king and cobblers refuse to serve you because they know you're too poor, that's really not a good sign. And this is probably why we got such little reinforcements here. Yeah, the Dauphin, who is now king, preferred to negotiate deals rather than actually fight wars because of the fact that he was pretty much dirt poor. But anyway, that's pretty much enough of that. Let's start moving the army. Now, the annoying thing about this is we pretty much will have to send the villagers with us this time, because we have to get them there. In order to do that, there are some more enemy forces in our path. No trebuchet, you can stay behind, actually. I mean, the trebuchets are really, at this point, only good as a distraction, so, yeah. So you guys head through that wall breach. I'm actually going to need to make a second save soon, because there is one... We're not quite out of the woods yet. There's one more moment where this scenario could get really hectic, and... Come on, you guys, get through the stupid wall breach. We probably should have opened up more than one breach there, actually, because... why'd the villagers get through first? Okay, hopefully you all can get through just fine now. Yeah, moving villagers in addition to military units causes some very weird formation behavior. Technically speaking, this whole thing can't even be considered a proper formation, because the moment you include you include civilian units with military units in a formation, they take what's actually called the Horde formation, which is interesting, because Horde was originally supposed to be a manually selectable formation, and it's even listed in the game's manual, which implies that the feature was cut actually quite late into the game's development. There are actually a couple of features in the manual that are actually reference features that were cut late in development, and the game itself comes with a PDF file, well actually no, it's a Word document, but anyway, that actually mentions the changes from the manual to what's in the latest version of the game. One of them is the removal of the Horde formation. Basically, the Horde formation still exists. It's the formation that military units and villagers take if you group them and try and move them together. But other than that, you can't manually select it. The manual makes a reference to being able to manually select it. The manual also makes a reference to quote-unquote custom formations, which I really have no idea what's meant by custom formations. I'm going to put you guys all on defensive now, just so that you actually can fight back. Not really sure what's meant. You are one of the refugees. You are coming with us. But anyway, not really sure what was ever meant by custom formations, but it sounds interesting, but it was probably cut for being too complicated, I'm guessing. But anyway, again, I'm so lucky that this much of my army has actually survived this far. Usually at this point, I'm down to just Joan, 1 or 2 militia, and some villagers. And these villagers. That's usually all, pretty much, like, this is the best I've ever gone at this scenario, really, so... Kind of interesting that. Yeah, you'll notice the villagers aren't obeying the laws of the box formation, because, yeah, they don't really obey that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save now, because very soon we're going to hit another very big trouble spot of this scenario. Okay, let's see if we can't do this. I'm actually not going to say that, because that would... Okay, putting the refugees first in line is really not a good idea. Only 6 of them need to make it to the flags, but, Oi! Oi! You guys keep moving. Eventually, we'll reach a... Wow, there's a bit of a gap in that forest, actually. And you're an idiot. I really don't want my paladins, like my best combat unit, getting stuck. So we've only got a short distance to go before we get there, right? Yeah, you think we have it easy? Not quite. Okay. Here's where things are going to get really, really, really dicey, and most of our army is going to have to sacrifice themselves. But clearly they knew what they were getting into, because, yeah, the Siege of Paris, again, complete and utter... Who's left there? Oh, just a scout cavalry. You don't make a decent distraction, actually. I mean, I know this forest is going to block me, but I'm wondering if I could do something. I have a dastardly plan that involves you being a giant distraction. Okay, right. Okay, you down there, scout up there. What I'm gonna do here is... that's the one! That's why we want to run! Run! No time for distractions. Let's just run! There's a whole bunch of fully upgraded Burgundian units here, mangonels, and we're losing refugees to those things. The refugees must... I only have exactly 6. That's really not a good sign. Yeah, I might... Okay, everyone who isn't Joan or a refugee, fight and hopefully die. Everyone who isn't Joan or a refugee. Joan herself must get through the flags. And the enemy, speaking of getting through, the enemies are pretty much through too. Thankfully there's a castle here to help slightly protect us.
You are victorious!
Okay, good. Hopefully we're safe, we just need to keep running. Because if Joan dies in this brief moment of interactivity we have before you are victorious, I think we still lose. Yes, we're actually done! Oh!
Tragedy. As the refugees fled into the chateau of Compiègne, Joan was trapped outside. Burgundian soldiers knocked her from her horse and paraded around with their prisoner. None of us can sleep, knowing our precious Joan of Arc languishes in a Burgundian prison. The soldiers stare at the uncaring sky, condemning themselves for being unable to save her, for being unable to save France. Paris was the first major defeat ever dealt to our army. Had the king sent the promised reinforcements, we would have captured the city. Now, it is France's darkest hour.
Cue happy victory music! Oh, this victory music seriously clashes with the mood of that last cutscene. Oh, it really does, but we're done! Oh, this blasted scenario! I hate this scenario so damn much! Oh! Now, I'm not totally sure, but I'm gonna go back and see if I can test that if Joan dies during those last brief moments of interactivity you have between the one final voice-acted line and the "you are victorious." I wonder if you actually do lose if Joan dies before then. I think you still might, so beware of that Kaizo trap there. So anyway, historically, this scenario pretty much sums it up. The Siege of Paris was a complete and utter disaster. Although Joan herself didn't get captured until quite a while afterwards, so they kind of merged a few events here. She was indeed captured by Burgundy, but that didn't happen until afterwards. Basically, after the Siege of Paris, the whole army was heavily demoralized. Joan demanded to keep fighting for Charles, but he kind of intentionally tried to keep her out of a lot of the fighting, and tried to keep her out of the court as well. In the end, she eventually had to go behind the king's back and lead an army of mercenaries. I admit that would have actually made for a pretty cool scenario, but they can only be 6 to a campaign, so I understand why they'd have to admit that. Still, scenario editors, anyone? That would actually be quite a cool concept. So yeah, apparently, yeah, Joan would, went behind the king's back and had to lead an army of mercenaries. Of course, the British got the highest score here, it makes perfect sense. But anyway, it wasn't until much later on that she got captured, and I think we all know what's going to happen next. This is the point, yeah, where the campaign takes a very dark turn, right before the very end. And, you know, you all totally saw this coming. This was one historical downer that there's no way they could have avoided. So let's just check. We actually got the most for units killed, but also units lost. That makes sense. Now, surprisingly enough, I actually had a really good run of this scenario. Like I said, in most of my practice runs, in fact, I do already have some archive recordings. Pretty much all my army is usually dead by the time we leave Paris. I generally am left with just Joan and the refugees, which, yeah, makes slipping by that last Burgundian army very difficult, but anyway. Largest army, of course, the British. Wow. And Burgundy had 74? Ugh. And yes, they, of course, no one else was able to even gather any resources. Oh, yeah. Of course they explored that much of the map, because their city takes up pretty much that percentage of the map in and of itself. Wow, that's a big research count. Yeah, their army is heavily upgraded. Society stats, they have 3 castles, 16 villages. The king's men had 1 villager? When? That's kind of odd. Timeline, yeah, as you can see, Well, we still had a fairly decent big blue bit, which is actually kind of nice, but yeah. And look at the King's Men. Pathetic. But anyway, oh boy. This mission right here. This was so difficult that one of the developers was even asked in a Q&A, have you ever beaten the Siege of Paris on any difficulty above standard? To which he replied, yes, but he suspiciously didn't say how. So, yep. When you've got a scenario that's so ridiculous, even the fans are even asking the developers if they've ever beaten it, yeah, I'm really glad to have that one behind me. Fortunately, the Joan of Arc campaign, that's really the only scenario that's that bad. But back to the scenario menu, we have the 6th and final mission in this campaign. And its name is a total spoiler, but you already figured that out anyway. So, next time, we end this. And, well, things get really, really, really depressing. But, hey, hopefully things will get a little better afterwards. And now it's time for Ye Olde Fact of the Day. The Mangonel. So, yeah, since this battle was technically a defeat for our side, it only makes sense to showcase a unit that the enemies were using heavily against us. Technically, they had Onagers and Siege Onagers by this point, the upgraded forms, but I haven't covered the base form, so I might as well do that. Mangonels are basically a catapult that fires a barrage of stones that hit a wide area, and they're pretty much your main form of area damage in this game. Mangonels are absolutely devastating against massed clumps of infantry. They do a lot of damage and they hit a wide area, and as you've seen many times in this scenario, they really do. They're an incredible deterrent against large armies of massed units, so they're a very effective anti-infantry weapon. They do, however, like most siege weapons, have a bit of a problem with cavalry, but they can even do devastating damage to cavalry if they're too stupid to get out of the way in time. Basically, when you're facing Mangonels, you really want to take them out with your cavalry as fast as possible so the rest of your units don't have to deal with them. Because Mangonels are absolutely devastating to mass clumps of units, which I've already said several times, but that's the best way you can sum them up. Mangonels also have the well, not so much unique, but because other units can do it too, but the interesting ability to attack ground. This is done by clicking on a specific button on the Mangonel's UI screen and selecting a particular area of the map. Here, you attack not a specific unit, but, as the name of the order says, an actual area of the ground. This can actually be really useful, especially when you've got a particularly agile unit that would run away from a direct shot. You could aim at the ground right for where they're headed, so they'll run into the fire and get hit anyway. It's actually very useful, and if you do it just right, mangonels can be extremely devastating with, yeah, I haven't really quite mastered the attack ground order, but it can be really, really useful sometimes, in a lot of situations actually, and it's probably your main bet for hitting cavalry. Also, remember that mangonels do in fact have a minimum range, so if units are too close it won't be able to fire on them. This is, again, why cavalry are so useful against them. But there is one major drawback to using mangonels, and that is that they're just as devastating to your own units as they are to your enemies. Their attacks don't discriminate, so they can rack up a pretty huge friendly fire kill tally if you're not careful about using them. Especially in vanilla Age of Kings before the expansion, when mangonels had absolutely terrible unit AI, to the point where they almost seemed like they were trying to kill your own troops. In fact, part of the main advancements in the Conquerors expansion, and in fact this was listed in the manual as a new feature, they wanted to point it out so much, is that mangonels were made smarter so they don't auto-fire if it would hurt your own units. Yeah, when they actually had to tout that as a feature, as a new feature in the expansion, oh boy, seriously, like, I'm one of the unlucky few to have been around when when mangonels still had their original AI, and oh boy, was it really annoying to handle. Yeah, they were extremely dumb, and you lost a lot of your own units to them indiscriminately firing on anything they saw. So thankfully they're smarter now, but you still have to be careful. If your units rush in too far, they might run into range of your own mangonels and get mauled. Yeah, and that's one of the major downsides of using mangonels as opposed to scorpions, both being anti-infantry siege weapons. Of course, scorpions also tend to be more accurate in the long run, so they both have their ups and downs. Scorpions are also cheaper. Mangonels get 2 upgrades. Most civilizations can get the Onaga upgrade, which is the second stage, but the final upgrade is absolutely insane. Possibly one of the most devastating units in the entire game. So of course it's only available to very few civilizations. If you're playing as a civilization that gets the final upgrade, you pretty much should take it, because it is an amazingly powerful weapon, and it's exclusive to few civilizations for a reason. But, yeah, anyway, that's all I'll say about mangonels for the time being. So, now it's time for the history lesson. The mangonel was an improvement on the ancient catapult that was used to throw stones and other missiles, usually in a siege attack against a fortified position. The mangonel usually fired directly at the target, using a bar to stop the throwing arm when it was vertical. This threw the missile directly forward. Mangonels were used to fire on large stone or one large stone or a basket of smaller stones. They were often assembled on the spot for use, but were also built on wheeled frames for easier movement, so they don't have to pack and unpack like trebuchets do. And yeah, that thing about it being an advancement on the ancient catapult is a reference probably to the catapult unit from Age of Empires 1, that, from what I've heard, is pretty notoriously broken. But yes, this one's a bit better, but it's mostly only effective against infantry. That catapult was pretty much effective against everything. But yeah, and I've rambled on long enough. I'll see you next time.